Good evening, Mr. Hunt.
Are you sure your line is secure?
I got it. Oh man, do I get it.
Central Intelligence Cinema now has a secure line to the IMF.
Benji?
Join the IMF. See the world on a monitor in a closet.
Line's not long enough! No! Yeah.
That doesn't sound impossible.
Next time, I gotta seduce the rich guy.
What are you waiting for? I'm jumping out a window!
Well, this is not mission difficult, Mr. Hunt. It's mission impossible. Difficult should be a walk in the park for you.
Central Intelligence Cinema presents Road to Reckoning.
You can understand you're very upset. Kittredge, you've never seen me very upset.
Sir, Hunt is the living manifestation of destiny.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Welcome to episode 45 of the Central Intelligence Cinema Podcast. We're on the road to reckoning, except that we've gotten down the road a little bit longer than we had anticipated for this first trip down the road. Today, Ben and I are going to kick things off by finishing up with part 2 of our review of Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. And with that being said, take it away, Mr. Brosnan.
Beg your pardon, forgot to knock.
Welcome to the CIC, initiating security clearance.
My name is Napoleon Solo. Bond. James Bond.
Natasha Romanoff.
Ethan Hunt.
Felix Leiter.
Elsa Faust. Identity confirmed.
Now, pay attention, 007.
Welcome to Central Intelligence Cinema, a podcast dedicated to spy movies and secret agent pop culture.
Your mission, should you decide to accept it.
You expect me to talk?
I'm in the middle of an interrogation. This moron is giving me everything.
Yeah, baby!
Special agent, you're not having a very special day, are you?
But remember, nothing ever goes according to plan.
Tom, what do you think you're doing?
Keeping the British hand up, sir. This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Recording from an undisclosed train car with an over-elaborate security system, it's the Central Intelligence Cinema Podcast. I'm Ben Esslinger, and with me, as should always be the case, my good friend, Jason Greenberg.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Central Intelligence Cinema Podcast, where the Dante and Randall of podcasting for silly spy shit is happening right before your very ears.
That is correct. That is correct. And we're back at the undisclosed location.
We are back at the undisclosed
flesh.
location after a slight hiccup with some sort of criminally engineered potential virus exposure. We discovered that everybody came through fine. The roses were not blooming, as it were. It doesn't mean that I had measles, or was in threat of having measles. I'm just trying to reference a movie that some of you will get and some of you will not. That is my shtick, after all. But no, we're actually here to kick off the second part of our review of Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, not to be confused with Mission Impossible 4. If you call it Mission Impossible 4, Tom Cruise might go into full assassination mode and his program will overtake him and kill all of us.
Indeed, indeed. Well, should we get into part 2 of our first tier of the Road to Reckoning?
We absolutely should. So, when last we left our heroes and heroine,
Yes.
We were chasing bad guys through a sandstorm that nobody even noticed was happening in Dubai.
And made no preparations for
Nope.
whatsoever.
We're still selling in the street vendors.
Yeah.
We're driving our convertible cars.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's
It's just
fine.
that's how things happen. That's how they do things.
Yes.
You have to remember, everybody in the world is different than everybody else in the world.
That's right.
But Ethan successfully is unsuccessful, except that running in the sand with his goggles on. Hendricks gets away, and we cut to some random room where our Impossible Mission Force people are hanging out. Brandt is losing his shit at Jane for killing Sabine, although it was kind of unavoidable.
I mean, she kind of had to, really.
Really.
During the fight. I mean, because at that point, Sabine had just grabbed the gun.
Yes.
And the only way to stop her is to
absolutely
give her the boot.
It was nothing about being personal or kicking her out of a window. Okay, maybe it was a little bit personal. Kicking her out of the, but obviously the situation wasn't going to be contained because Benji was the one who caused it, and Benji was the only one in there that was going to do anything about it. So out goes Sabine out the window. Whee! Still the biggest crime in the movie. Meanwhile, Ethan is just splashing water on himself and doing that thing where he's trying to figure all this shit out in his head. All the tumblers are rolling. The numbers would be floating in front of his eyes if he was Sherlock Holmes in his mind palace. But as he's doing all this, he gets a phone call, and he finally gets the meeting that he wanted from back at the train car headquarters. So whoever was on the other end of the phone has finally come back and said he's delivering the goods.
Exactly.
So Ethan then gets ready to walk out, presumably to meet whoever this contact is talking on the phone.
Yeah.
And then Jane and Brant start laying into Benji about how it is his fault that the Russians caught up to them in Dubai.
Yeah, because he must have laid some sort of tracks digitally that
they could follow to get to where they were at. Yeah, for sure. And they are also mad at him that Sabine was able to disarm him so easily. But have you met Leia Sadu? She's so disarming anyway.
She is very disarming. She's a disarming woman.
How can you blame Benji for being disarmed by her?
At the angle that he was looking at her and her sitting down, I'm just saying...
Disarmed.
Disarmed.
Disarmed is forewarned. Anyway, Ethan interrupts and goes after Brant, calling him out as the fact that you were apparently much more than just an analyst that you're claiming to be, and wanting to know what was going on.
It becomes that fight, and it's like basically proving it's like you are clearly not just...
Right, you have some skills.
Yeah.
You have some Liam Neeson level Avenger skills. Are you an Avenger? Maybe, maybe not. He's not saying for sure. But as he's doing this, he gets another text, and then he tells the team that he's meeting a friend, and he'll have someone get the three of them out of where they're at in Dubai and to wherever they need to go next, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Essentially, he's implying he's going to go after Hendricks alone at this point. Y'all are fuck-ups. I don't want to deal with you anymore.
Right. This is kind of that like moment in any sports movie where nobody's getting along and they haven't quite figured out how to get along, and they're all and everybody's mad.
The one kid doesn't get cancer, or there's a horrific accident and gets paralyzed.
Right.
There's no rallying point for the team yet.
Right.
So they're all just the Mighty Ducks at the beginning of Mighty Ducks 1. Not the Mighty Ducks from Mighty Ducks 3 who have really gelled into a team but have to overcome adversity outside of the hockey rink.
Exactly.
So we go into where Ethan is meeting his friend or whomever's on the other end of the phone. And there's kind of a weird start to this one because the intent of this scene was for Ethan to meet up with Max from the first Mission Impossible movie as an arms dealer, which is what she was, and to have him meet the same tall blonde dude and have him put the same black bag over his head that they used in the first Mission movie.
Yeah. Which was, it is funny having that background information about what they intended to do, and they just sort of kept all that in because this was clearly an 11th hour forced change because they just couldn't get Vanessa Redgrave over the line.
The $1 million hump.
The $1 million line, yeah.
Yeah, and it's hilarious. That would have been so much better a scene because you would have had Cruz playing the whole exasperated, we've been here before card. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, all right, fine. What? No, yes, that too. And given the humor that was kind of being conveyed in this movie, not only would have been a nice callback, but it would have actually been more of a solid comedy moment because of the callback factor of it.
Yes.
So it's a shame that they couldn't get that figured out.
Yeah, because it really takes the wind out of the sails.
Yeah, but the guy did an admirable job.
Yeah.
For what the
guy that played the fog.
Yeah, they played the fog. And why the fog?
I don't even remember if they reference his name at all.
I don't feel like because I knew it was the fog from looking at IMDb. I'm like, what is a fog?
Exactly. That's the only reason why I knew what his name was because I had to look it up.
Did he play it in the John Carpenter movie? Is it about him? It's been a long time since I watched it. I guess I'll have to look at IMDb again.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Ethan gets let in, hood, the whole 9 yards, whatever we need to have. So we cut back to the rest of the team and we get the kind of the Brant story, the whole explanation about why he's a badass that wasn't being a badass anymore.
Right.
And what it essentially turns out to be is that he was assigned to be on a protection detail for a husband and wife, and he was unable to protect the wife. The husband left, and the wife was attacked, and by the time he was able to get down there, she was dead.
Right. Well, didn't Brant, for whatever reason that morning, decide to follow the husband and left two guys to watch after the wife?
Yeah.
And then when he got back, then the wife was dead and yada, yada.
Yeah. But he still blamed himself because he was a protection detail.
Right.
And in the process of going through all of the story, he basically says, well, this is Ethan and his wife. This explains why the wife is missing, because the wife is dead, or is she? And the guilt that he's carrying because he felt responsible for protecting both of them and wasn't able to protect either of them.
Right. Now, Benji does sort of hint at the fact that she might still be alive, because he was like, I thought they just broke up or whatever.
Yeah, that they got divorced.
Yeah.
Right. Because that was the rumor. He was establishing that was kind of the rumor that was going around. Nobody had an idea that she was dead, which I think he bought completely into.
Yeah.
Which was the point, as we'll find out later. Because right now, she, like Schrodinger's cat, is alive and dead at the same time. We then also find out that shortly thereafter, Ethan went off the grid, and 6 Serbians ended up disappearing after he went off the grid, which may be the quote-unquote unsanctioned hit that we discussed earlier in this particular movie from the last episode.
Yes.
So we get a little bit of backstory. And Jeremy Renner really sells it, or tries to sell it, but it's so not fitting in a movie of where they were at this point in time.
Well, yeah, that's the problem I had with this whole area, is that, you know, we just got done with 2 massive set pieces, and then to try and load this giant emotional story right now, nobody's going to be listening. I'm barely, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's going to be able to handle something that heavy or...
Well, no, particularly since we're going into the end game of the movie.
Right.
You know, and so this should have been something that should have been relegated to the train scene, I think.
Absolutely. If he would have been on the train, if there would have been some sort of quiet time.
Yeah.
Not immediately following the 2 biggest scenes in the whole movie.
Well, the problem was that they were building up to that reveal.
Yeah.
Right? So it was a surprise. And there's not really a good place to put that.
Yeah.
Unless it was Brant confessing to Benji alone, or Brant confessing to Jane alone and swearing her to secrecy so that Ethan didn't know, which Benji wouldn't have flown with. But Jane, he might have been able to be like, you know, you've lost somebody that was close to you. She wasn't close to me, but, you know, it was an important assignment. There are ways to do it. I think it would have been too convoluted to try and get it in any other way.
Yeah.
It feels bad to me that he put in such a pretty strong performance for this, that in a movie that it was tailored for, would have had way more impact than it actually was.
Yeah.
I feel like they should have softballed it a little more. Not because he isn't capable of doing a heavy acting scene. He totally is. It just wasn't, it didn't feel appropriate for where the movie was at.
Right.
Or maybe even what type of movie it was going to be.
Yeah.
You know. So, but I mean, you can't complain. The acting was great. You get the thing. You understand why he's sad and kind of, you know, was kind of reserved and kind of keeping that to himself, because, you know, I would be terrified too if I thought maybe Ethan Hunt would be mad at me for his wife being dead.
Yeah.
Not going to lie.
Just possibly. I don't know.
Right. So the Serbian hit is essentially the reason what we figure out why Ethan was in the prison.
Right.
But Ethan was in the prison. What we find out is that he did the hit to get into the prison in the first place for a completely different reason.
Exactly.
So,
well, who knows if he even actually did the hit, or whether they just put him in, they laid the blame on him so they could put him in the prison so that the whole illusion is complete.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we all know he's so much more comfortable being a rogue agent than he is just being a regular agent, since he seems to be a rogue agent in everything he does.
Well, rogue is all the rage,
I guess. I mean, we all don't get to be James Bond and just stay that guy normally and not have to go rogue. But
well, Daniel Craig went rogue on like half of his missions.
This is true. This is true. But only after watching Ethan Hunt be rogue for as much as Ethan Hunt was rogue.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, so we get through this little scene, fade to black. The mask comes off and we get to meet the Fog, but not before we get to see Bogdan again, who is super happy to see Sergey. Oh, so it turns out that the guy on the phone was Bogdan, who had managed to arrange the meeting between Ethan and the Fog, a mysterious arms dealer that should have been Vanessa Redgrave, but wasn't.
Yes.
So maybe he's the Fog because you want to think it's Vanessa Redgrave, but you can't see her through the fog. Anyway, Ethan gets his attention by mentioning how nuclear war is not the kind of war that's good for business.
Yeah.
You know, this is after you have to have the little good guy sniffing the maybe other bad guy out.
Right.
Tete-a-tete, back and forth. And Ethan points out to him that, yeah, sure, selling guns and everything is good for business and whatever else, but nuclear war is not so great. And it does get the guy's attention.
Yeah.
Russians and Americans have a particular thing for nuclear war that I think grabs all of our attention. So,
yeah.
So in the process of discussing, what Ethan is looking for, what he needs to find out. He knows that there's a communication satellite, an old communication satellite from Russia that's being used to potentially broadcast these missile codes to launch the missile that Hendricks wants to get out there and start World War III with, which I don't know why you're only going to launch one, but whatever. And this guy has the information to kind of tell him what the satellite is, where it's gone to, who it got sold to, that kind of thing like that. And he says, if you help me out, my friends become your friends. And so the Fog kind of is like, okay.
And this is where
we get the I'm not going to tell you what you need to know while telling you everything you need to know kind of thing,
Yeah, you shouldn't do this, but that's exactly what you should do.
Yeah, I can't possibly tell you where I sold this old Russian satellite to, and I couldn't possibly tell you to start looking for a broadcast company in India owned by this guy over here. And I certainly wouldn't be able to give you the information to blah, 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 blah. And again, here we are. The part 2 of this, and I still can't think of any other movie to reference it, even though I know there are other movies that are in it. Maybe somebody could mention that to us out there in listener land.
Yes,
because I know you're all probably yelling right now. It's this movie. You're an idiot. Because I know I do that when I know the answer on other podcasts that I listen to. But Fogg gives them all the information to get to that old tactical satellite so that they have a place to start looking for Hendricks again. Towards the end of it, he basically told Ethan that this is not something he can do alone because of the complexity of what the situation is.
Which is sort of his hint that I'm going to give you a really cool jet and some gear.
Right.
So call your cavalry. And
I'm going to help you.
I'm going to help you do this thing.
To stop the nuclear things.
Yes.
It's very nice of him to do that. And so, we're getting ready to go in there to wrap this whole thing up in Act 3.
So Act 3, the final mission.
Should you choose to accept it?
Should you choose to accept it? It's the 4th one. It's the 4th mission.
The 4th mission of Mission Impossible 4. And you've come through us this far.
That's right.
So why don't you stick around for the rest of it?
That's right. So cut to a new day, and the IMF team rolls up to this very fancy private jet. P.S. and by the way, in this shot, you can see Mr. Cruise's actual personal jet.
Really?
Yes. The Fog has provided this fancy private jet, and Ethan says that they have one more chance to stop Hendricks so long as they work together. All right, Mighty Ducks. We got to work together. Let's do it. So I have faith. Let's.
So the Fog is basically the kid with the broken spine.
Yeah.
Way to go, Fog.
Thanks, Fog. Oh, and then we get this great funny line from Benji's like, cool jet. And then Ethan's like, wait till you see the car. So then we get this interesting cut to a doctor's office. Very nice doctor's office, actually, by the way. Lots of windows. Fancy. But Sidorov is getting some medical attention after, being accosted by Ethan right before Ethan took off after Wistrom in the sandstorm, getting his nose fixed.
Right.
And he gets a phone call from the Fog, and the Fog lets him know that he can give him information on both the stolen nuclear device and Ethan's whereabouts. If you can just forget about this one little thing that you keep chasing me around for.
Right.
If you could just,
a little bit of tit for tat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your friends become my friends. I just learned this from other guy.
Yeah, exactly. So, if Sidorov stands down from hunting him,
you'll give him the information.
Right. So cut to the jet and all aboard flight exposition.
This is
the Exposition 3.
This is flight EX1705 northbound, airbound for exposition and all additional plot points.
That's right. So on the plane ride to Mumbai, also wholly bad green screen set, Batman.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the few areas in this movie where I was like, oh, this is clearly a set, and that window definitely has green over it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll allow it.
That probably was one of the subcontractors, not ILM themselves, right?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, too, if this was something where they were like, okay, we still need to fill in the audience on what is happening now. We're just going to shoot this in a shitty back lot somewhere.
Right.
Put the green screen up and hope that it works. So... Anyway, so Ethan is explaining that the telecom owner is Brijnath, a Playboy multimedia tycoon. So that's who they have to intercept. And Nath controls the Novosti satellite, which is what Hendricks intends to use to contact, in this case, a submarine, to launch a nuke.
Right.
So they basically have to get the code from Nath to shut the satellite down one way or another. Hint, hint, Agent Carter or Jane. So,
no, not that Agent Carter.
Not that Agent Carter, just Jane.
Yes.
So, Jane, put on your best dress, girl.
Yeah.
So, but we do get this nice little moment with Ethan and Jane. Jane sort of feeling insecure after losing her shit and just sort of letting her emotions run away with her, and she kills Sabine. Although, it's kind of what she had to do.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Was it the opportunity to subdue her without doing it?
Probably.
But obviously, they'd been spending a lot of time fighting. You know, the editors don't want to have to sit there and cut that down to something reasonable.
Right.
She's like, you know what? If this was a movie, we would need to wrap this up right now. And so she just did it in case it was a movie. She didn't know.
She didn't know she was in a movie.
She didn't know she was in a movie. She didn't know like this was like God making a spy movie. So she was trying to get in good graces, I suppose.
Exactly. So, but then also on this plane ride, we get this really fun scene where Benji tells Brant about the plan to manually tap into the central server in order to shut the satellite down. And using this super neato tiny rover magnet thing and then this accompanying vest that will let Brant hover over it at varying heights.
Right.
And then move with the little rover as it moves, because it's weird. I mean, sure, I'll buy it. I buy it. It's fine.
He's wearing a metal suit.
Yeah.
Generate an electromagnetic field.
That's right.
Polarities push things apart.
That's right.
I think my biggest problem with this whole thing was it doesn't really stop inertia.
Yeah.
So even though it's floating him, when the little cart thing stopped, he should have kept going forward.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And I could be wrong.
Well, it could, he could be moving forward a little bit when it stops, but maybe he slows down.
Unless technically it's pulling him. But if it was pulling him magnetically, it wouldn't be a magnetic field that was floating him. Look, I'm not a physicist. I know enough physics stuff from science fiction to just be dangerous to ask stupid questions like this. And from what they were trying to do, I get it. Mm-hmm. I've seen things in catalogs, where they have spaceships floating in midair because they're using magnets.
Right.
But in the whole moving people with metal suits around, I don't know if I buy it. But if James Bond can jump off of a sled in an oil pipe at 80 miles an hour and just tumble twice and be fine, I can go ahead and assume that Hawkeye in metal armor can float on a little floaty cart made of magnets.
That's right. So to do this, though, Brant has to jump down into a computer array where Benji will quote unquote catch him using the little rover.
And don't forget to mention the fan.
The fan that's between the rover and Brant.
Right.
So he has to, and it's pointy too.
Right. There's a little pointy tip at the top for no apparent reason.
Right. Other than to be much more threatening.
Right. It's like the chompers in Galaxy Quest. Why are these even here?
So, and just the look from Renner as he looks at this floating vest and just the skepticism on his face. And basically the premise is that Benji will navigate the rover and then essentially tow Brant to the relay room where he can then jack into the panel and put in the code that Jane obtains.
Yes.
Obtains from Bruce.
An excellent word for it, thank you.
Yes. Oh, that's the other thing. He's like, Brant's all scared about doing this whole thing, and Benji's just sort of, again, casting it aside like...
And I catch you?
Yeah.
Why is that so hard to grasp?
Well, why? It's a 25-foot drop.
I'd be more worried about the heat.
And then there's that. What heat?
Well, it's like any computer, isn't it? If you switch off the fan, it's going to get really hot.
Of course.
Relatively,
Of course it will. So I'm jumping into an oven, essentially.
Yeah, essentially.
It's at that point you kind of wish Benji was like, Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have to scale up 11 stories on the world's tallest building and then swing in and hit your head on the window on the way back in? I think you got this, bro.
Right. I'm glad that it's fun in this movie that they have Benji be this way, but I'm glad that he evolves.
Yes.
When you go into Rogue Nation, when you go into Fallout, he's not that guy anymore. And I appreciate that they were clearly conscious of that.
Right.
So anyway, we cut to Mumbai and we get this freakishly gorgeous shot of Mumbai at dusk, I'm guessing. And we see this big fancy palace, which, if I remember correctly, isn't even in Mumbai. But anyway, I digress. Movie magic. So it's this big lavish party that's going on, and a very fancy BMW i8 concept car rolls up, and out comes Tom. He looks so tiny.
He does.
like the car dwarfs him.
It looks like a wee man.
A little wee man.
Just a wee man getting out of a large car.
That's right.
It's a wee man.
And then out comes Jane, and
yeah,
smoke show.
That's some dress.
Indeed. And I did like Tom did a good bit of acting as she gets out the car, and he's noticeably like stunned at how good she looks.
Right.
Like, oh, you clean up very, very well, miss. Hello. So we get this this wide shot of this lavish party, and there's dancers and fountains. And then out the opposite corner, we see Brant kind of sneak his way in. Then we see Benji arriving in some sort of elevator shaft / maintenance closet or something,
right,
where all the breakers are or what have you. And then we get a glimpse of Brijnath in a white dinner jacket, no less. Perfect for a billionaire playboy guy,
right,
who basically wants to be James Bond.
Right.
And then I also found it very fitting that Jane's code name is Venus
right,
in this.
Oh, we had Saturn and Pluto.
Yes, I think that's what it was. And that's what it was. Because Benji's like, why do I have to be Pluto? And then Brant's like, well, you could have been Uranus.
Yeah. It's funny because you said anus.
So we see Brijnath in the white dinner jacket, and then Jane gulps down an entire glass of champagne to sort of prep herself. Because what's kind of cool is that I do appreciate the fact that her character is not used to being the
like
seductor.
The
femme fatale or anything. She's used to being kind of a badass.
Yeah, she's the Ethan Hunt of her operation.
Exactly. And so it was kind of cool that they played it that way, and that this is not her archetype.
Right.
She has to, have a very stiff drink and just sort of prepare herself for trying to be this totally different person than she actually is.
Right.
So she makes sure she's seen by Mr. Nath and does it very well, eating a strawberry in the most seductive way I maybe have ever seen done.
Strawberry eating? Yeah, perhaps.
He definitely notices. Oh, that's the other thing about when Brant and Benji kind of find their way. It's like, how do they know exactly where to go? Like, this is, again, one of those things where I'm like, oh, so they have the entire technical readouts of this battle station.
They absolutely do.
So apparently some Bothan spies hooked them up with the entire floor plan of this palace. So Brant knows exactly where the computer array is. Well, Benji knows exactly where he should be set up.
I mean, they had to know that their server room had a fan that they could use the Magna thing for.
I guess so.
So the fog must have hooked them up with that as well.
Oh, maybe the fog doth provide.
He's a Bothan. He's not a Russian. He's a Bothan.
That's right. So Brij makes his introduction to Jane, and the actor Anil Kapoor plays him just the right level of douche.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just so like, hello. Are you impressed yet? Oh, that's what it was. Because he makes it very well known right in front of Jane. He's like, at this time, I want everyone having a glass of Dom Perignon in their hands, so we can all toast together or whatever. And then he sort of rolls his head over to her, and he's like, "Are you impressed yet? Look at how much money I have. I am awesome."
He's basically trying to Pepe Le Pew her.
Yeah, it's really silly, but kind of perfect for the role.
Yes.
And then on top of it, then this waiter person comes over with a tray filled with cell phones. He picks one up, that's apparently ringing for him or waiting for him, and he sort of sighs in annoyance, and then he starts fiddling with that. So in the meantime, we cut to Benji, who's now navigating the rover under the fan and into position for Brant. And I did find this is another set that looked a little cheap, too.
Yeah, it really did.
It looked a little Black Bart's Cave to me.
Right.
So anyway, so Brant gets a look down the computer array, and he's having second thoughts again. And I love when he starts stretching.
Yes.
And just sort of delaying the
unbuttoning the shirt, getting the cuffs undone.
Yeah, takes the jacket off, just trying to, okay, 1 and a 2. Like, and in the meantime, they're on the comms and Ethan's just like, jump. Anyway, we cut back to Jane and Bridge, and Jane is keeping up the hard to get act, but is now legitimately annoyed because Bridge is still playing on this phone, and she just clearly is uncomfortable in this role. She just wants to get him somewhere private, take the codes, and get out of there.
Right.
So, in the meantime, you can hear in her comm, Ethan's like, be Venus, be Venus, be Venus. And then finally, after much coaxing from Ethan, Brant finally jumps. But then when his fall is broken by him actually being legitimately caught, he like yells out, and Jane freaks out and grabs Breeze's hand like really hard, and Breeze is like, what is all this about? So he walks away because he's sort of like, I don't know what's wrong with this girl. I'm out of here.
Right.
So, and then Jane's frustrated because she feels like she screwed up again, and then Ethan's trying to, let her know it's fine. We can still do this. And then that's when he comes over to her and he's like, okay, we're just playing these roles. Don't hit me. And then he kisses her. And then she's affected by the kiss, which, is Tom Cruise. So
you would be affected by a kiss
I would be affected by a kiss from Tom Cruise. So, but of course, literally as soon as they're done kissing, this wait person immediately rolls over with a phone ringing for her. So she has to pick it up. And of course, on the other end, it's Breege inviting her to look at his art collection, and then wants to play this like silly little hide and seek game at the party. It's like so just kiddie. I don't know. It's anyway.
Yeah,
it's kind of the right move for that guy, that character. Anyway, so Ethan walks away, and then we get a shot of Sidorov letting us know that he's there as well, because clearly he was tipped off and is looking for Ethan. And this is right about when we start getting a lot of heavy intercutting back and forth between the different parts of the team and what have you. Benji navigating Brant towards the room, and it's very hot. And they're making that very apparent.
It's very hot.
Very hot.
Don't touch it, little mini-me. It's very hot.
It's very hot. And then we get a cut to Hendricks and Wistrom, who are now headed down the road to wherever they intend to go. And then it cuts again back to Jane, who's listening to Breeze try and woo her.
Right.
And then and Ethan's like rolling his eyes as he's listening to this shit. And he lets her know where he went. He's like, it's at your 8 o'clock. It's at your 8 o'clock. Just go.
Right.
So anyway, meanwhile, poor Brant is just like just banging back and forth between little, because it's not a perfect system. And he's sweating.
It's broken like everything else.
Exactly.
Right?
So Jane has to act. In the meantime, we're back to Jane, and she has to act like she's like, super game to all this dumb shit. And then talking about his art collection. And meanwhile, Brant finally arrives at the relay room, and he switches out these little control cards. So now Benji is able to see the satellite on his computer, but he just can't reprogram it because he doesn't have the code yet.
Right.
So, or actually, it's Brant that has to manually punch it in. That's right. Then we cut back to Hendricks and Wistrom again. Now they're entering a building, with them, of course, immediately killing the security guards. And again, we cut back to Brant, who is literally just kind of frying while he's hovering there, waiting for the codes that Jane's supposed to get. So now they're in the hallway, and she's still trying to channel her inner Venus, but at this point, it's almost becoming dominatrix-y.
Right.
Because he slides his hand down and tries to touch the small of her back, and then she disarms him.
Right.
Like twists his arm around and stuff like that, and then she sort of corrects herself and just sort of gently lets go, and then he's like, oh, he's sort of like, now he's starting to get into it, and then she slaps his face and like just sort of walks away listlessly.
Yes. So this is what's going to get him what I want.
Yeah.
What I want from him.
Exactly. So then we cut back to where Hendrix and Wistrom are, and they are essentially reprogramming the satellite already. You know, finally, Jane is in this bedroom with Bridge, but and she quickly puts him in a headlock and gets the code out of him, but they're too late. So now they're going to be chasing the clock in a different way. So they essentially have to triangulate now where Hendrix is and go after him. So the only thing that they really achieve by getting this code is the ability to triangulate where they are. And it's funny that this is sort of this Mission Impossible's MO is like, this team fails over and over and over again, and they're constantly chasing the new target.
Right. Well, you know, it's almost like, because when you watch a lot of spy movies, things tend to fall into place really easy, particularly towards the end.
Right.
So that you can get to whatever the big set piece is for Bond or whomever to save the world. And it feels like Bird's whole emphasis with this movie was, how do things like this actually happen in the real world?
Right. He was trying to sort of break all of those conveniences that would normally happen.
The tech isn't helping any. You have to work around the tech.
Right.
The time frames are unrealistic, so you have to constantly keep updating what the mission is until you have nothing left.
Right.
Or you succeed, whichever comes first.
Right. And so, and they just keep doing that all the way until the end of this movie, which I think is actually...
I like it. If it had been done less successfully, it would have gotten very tedious.
Yeah. Because
it's very easy to go from, I get it, to, oh, I get it.
Yeah, I know. If they would have had one more after the garage, I would have been out. I would have been too exhausted to keep going after that.
Exactly.
So then after Jane gets the code, she tranks Bridge, and Benji helps Brant get out of the relay room and up to safety, which does prove to be a bit crazy because he's sort of close to where he needs to get out.
Right.
But he can't quite get out. And then I think that's what it is. Part of it is that the fans come back on.
Mm-hmm. And it's blowing him down.
Yeah. So then he does like a skydiving move that lets him go down further.
But the fan is actually pushing him up higher than he needs to be.
Right. So that's what he did. He
does a tuck.
He does a tuck, and then like he spreads out, and then it blows him way up. And then the funny thing about that is that's right when the magnets in his vest are pulling the little rover thing through the fan, and chops up the entire little rover, and all these pieces are flying at Brant, and then he has to ricochet himself back out of that.
Yeah, because he literally does a up, push, bounce, drop, tumble.
Yeah, that's fun. It was like 5 more things than I needed, but it's entertaining.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then so of course we get this great line too.
Brant? Next time, I gotta seduce the rich guy.
Fun fact, this is a Christopher McQuarrie line that added to that.
You know, it's funny. Every time Renner would fire off some sort of smart-ass remark, 100% Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Every time I was like, that's a Barton. That's a Barton. You just got Barton, son.
You just got Bartoned. Welcome back to You Just Got Bartoned.
That's going to be Jeremy Renner's new Disney Plus TV show when he finally on the mend.
Bartoned.
Yeah, instead of, punked, it's going to be, you got Barton.
So, in the meantime, Ethan realizes that Sidorov is in pursuit, but he sort of acknowledges him, which is kind of on purpose because he wants Sidorov to find Hendrix as well.
Absolutely.
At this point. So, Ethan takes off in the BMW while Hendrix is instructing Wistrom to enter the codes and arrange to send an order to a Russian nuclear sub to fire a nuke. From there, he sort of believes that that'll bring retaliation and start the nuclear war that he wants, which maybe, probably, well, who knows?
One missile does not a war make.
No. You'd need like 5 or 10.
Yeah. And
I don't know how many codes he had, but...
Well, I feel like he had there was a lot of codes on that paperwork that he had.
Yeah.
And I feel like, personally, if you're the Russian submarine captain, they want us to launch one missile?
One nuke?
Yeah, it's only one missile. Wait, to San Francisco? What is happening here? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Why are we not launching all of the missiles? We have lots of missiles.
Very suspect. This is a very suspect moment.
Absolutely. And We didn't even ask us to do one ping, Mr. Vasily. One ping only.
And then we cut back to Ethan and Jane in the car, with Jane using this sort of Minority Report / Quantum of Solace screen on the
Stark Tech?
Yeah, Stark Tech to help navigate quicker inside this very fancy i8 concept car that it wasn't even a real car at the time.
No, did eventually become one.
It did, yes.
But not at that point.
Yeah. We then hear that the launch has been initiated, and Benji tells Ethan that they're at 3 minutes and counting now. So they now have 3 minutes to get to this building and stop everything, which is looking more and more difficult because they're going through traffic and it's very busy. And just an aside, I think it's really funny how Jane is in the middle of changing her clothes in this car.
Yep.
And she's basically half naked and nothing from Ethan. Ethan's just
he's got to drive the car, man.
I mean, he's got to drive the car. He's on a very strict mission. He's got 3 minutes to get there.
Happily married.
Happily married to Julia. Granted, he never gets to see her, but at least he knows she's alive. So, anyway.
It's plausible. What's not plausible is her changing in that car.
Yeah.
Into what she ended up getting out of that car with.
Right. So maybe he just took a small peek. Who knows?
Even Happy Hogan was checking out Natasha in the back of the car in Iron Man 2.
That's right. So anyway, it turns out they're too late, and the sub has already fired the missile.
Always too late.
Always too late. How do we feel about this missile?
Okay.
The CGI missile.
Okay, so I probably could save this till the very end, but I'm sure we're all aware that there wouldn't be a Ghost Protocol or a sequel, Rogue Nation, to this movie if we weren't successful at the end. But that missile was the most ridiculous fucking thing in the movie, with the exception of the very bad sandstorm CGI. And here's what I'm going to tell. So I don't interrupt this narrative run we're about to make. First of all, that's not how multiple impact reentry vehicle missiles work. They are ballistic missiles. They do go up and they come back down, but they don't land in the city they're going to blow up. Nukes do not hit the ground to explode. They explode in the air. And if this is, I guess it could have been just a straight up cruise missile and only had one warhead. But most nuclear missiles have multiple independent targeting vehicles in them. And they go and they drop lots of warheads out of the one big missile, which will all blow up.
There we go.
Also, not done yet. If that missile was deactivated and ran into the Transamerica building,
oh my God,
it wouldn't bounce off and knock a chunk out of the building.
It would blow up, wouldn't it?
It should, with the rocket fuel and the explosives. Granted, they're not big explosives to start the reaction, but the rocket fuel alone probably would have exploded into the top of that building and set it on fire. So when I saw that, I'm like, bullshit. Bullshit.
Bullshit.
How much shit? Tons of bullshit.
Well, anyway. So Ethan is already thinking about redirecting the missile using Hendrix's launch case. So they keep heading for Hendrix, who, speaking of which, is now walking out of the building muttering, "May there be peace on Earth," which is, okay, not a good line. Not a good line.
They're all the time trying to make him look like this crazy maniac, and he's sort of like reserved himself. Let the missiles fly. May there be peace on Earth.
And just like, okay.
Sure.
Anyway, so just then, Ethan and Jane pull up, and Jane heads after Wistrom to stop him from completely unhooking all these wires and what have you that are up in the building. So that breaks into a gunfight, and Jane is shot in the side, although she doesn't notice it right away.
How do you not notice you've been shot? Don't you hate that trope in movies?
It is kind of silly how suddenly she's like, "Oh, I've been shot." It's like, no, you're gonna know as soon as that thing
goes, know that happened.
As soon as that thing goes through your body. Anyway, Wistrom makes a break for the main power breaker in the building, and at that point, Benji and Brant arrive with Benji trying to sort of rehook up the wiring, and Brant tells Jane just to sort of keep watch, and then he goes after Wistrom. Meanwhile, Ethan is chasing after Hendrix, who is headed for the spiral car garage thingy, which again, Hendrix outruns him.
Yeah, impossible.
Get it?
It's funny because you said impossible.
Anyway, okay. So yeah, the big spiral car garage thingy, and there's a helicopter coming to pick him up at the top. But I will say this is again another scene that I'm going to gush over. This fight scene inside the car garage is so well choreographed.
Yes.
It's like a what are those things where the ball rolls to hit the thing to push the thing over
a Rube Goldberg machine.
It's like a giant Rube Goldberg machine.
Yep.
That's what this feels like, this whole scene. So you've got Ethan fighting Hendrix for the case in this crazy car garage that moves the cars around using these 3 different platforms attached to these giant robotic platform things. Mm-hmm. And then we see Ethan jump what looks to be a solid 20 feet down to one of the cars, into one of the cars, but then he somehow misses. Like, and his legs slip off the side, and he's like holding on for dear life to this car or whatever. Anyway, somehow Hendrix then knocks Ethan onto a different platform with the case, and then eventually gets there to take it back from him. And then this all turns into yet another just sort of stand-up fight with this car behind Ethan, and the car is slowly rolling towards him, and Hendrix kicks him in the inside of the knee and like really fucks up his knee. Like, and here's another little fun fact. Brad Bird actually initially wanted Ethan to have his leg broken right there and have it much more gruesome, but Tom Cruise actually like sort of dissuaded him from doing that, because he didn't want to have a cast in the final scene of the movie.
Well, yeah. Plus, I mean, from his own standpoint, the fighting he has to do is infinitely more difficult if he can't use both of his legs.
Right. So, and then, Ethan sort of answers back by twisting the guy's shoulder, and kind of like, you hear like a crunch noise. So now they're both really screwed up. And they're climbing over cars and trying to get the case. The case is very slippery. Very slippery case. Did you notice that?
Yeah. It's like they lubed it up with like a missile oil or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So at one point, Hendrix knocks it down what looks to be a good 7 to 8 stories before it lands on this platform that's now coming back up towards them.
Right.
Ethan starts hobbling over to where the platform is headed, and Hendrix chases after. And we cut to Brandt, who's at the main power switch, but then hiding behind the door is Wistrom.
Which, dude, check your 6.
Like, how would he? Come on, he's a trained security guy. He would have looked behind that door.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyway, so that fight begins, but then we cut back. Somehow or another, Hendrix has reclaimed the briefcase, and he's at the ledge. And Ethan's ready to start fighting him again. And then basically, Hendrix just essentially kills himself, or is willing to kill himself, because he launches himself off the end of this platform, essentially to his death, but keeping the briefcase away from Ethan because he knows it's so far down that it's going to be really hard.
Yeah, to get to the case before the missile hits its target.
Right, exactly.
You got to admire the commitment.
That's some serious. Well, I mean, he's crazy. He's a crazy person. So then, oh boy, this is another one that's hard to reckon with, but reckon, get it? Anyway,
it's funny because you said reckon.
Anyway, so Ethan gets in a car and he straps in and he drives off the platform, nosediving arguably 100 meters or so to the bottom of the car holder.
I don't think it was 100 meters. That wasn't 300 feet.
You don't think so?
No.
All
was if he was 7 stories up, that only would have been about 70 feet down.
Okay. Well, still.
But yeah,
I only went off 100 meters because that's what Benji says at the very end of the movie.
Does he really?
Yeah.
I don't feel like that was 100 meters.
I don't feel
300 feet doesn't seem like that was that far. That's 3 football fields.
That's
1 football field. Sorry.
That's still very high. Yeah. That seems too much.
Yeah, no.
That seems excessive. Okay, but either case, regardless, it's far. And I mean, it's a Beamer. Maybe a Volvo, he might have survived.
Well, no, because if you think about it, that would have been he probably wasn't even traveling 30 miles an hour when he hit the ground.
You think so?
It's just like a frontal impact.
Okay.
I mean, any car that was built in 2011 would have been able to stand head on at 50 miles an hour. He would have still been able to walk out of the door.
All right,
dazed.
Well, he seemed dazed when he got out.
So I mean, it's because if you think about it, the fall is just the same thing as regular acceleration, right? you're just going the wrong angle.
Right.
But, it's just like running into a wall if you were driving the car at X amount of miles an hour.
Okay.
So I buy it. That was, if there was anything that I could call plausible in this movie.
This was actually plausible.
This was plausible.
All right, fine. Fair enough. So now we come back to the other building, and Benji realizes that Brant's been gone too long. So he gives instructions to Jane, like, okay, when the power comes back up, plug these things in. So... And this is when we get sort of Benji's his character arc has finally...
Yeah, he's reached the pinnacle of where he needs to be to get to the next level.
Yeah, so he's no longer that sort of new, green, foolish new agent. He's now...
Right. He ate the mushroom and now he's Big Benji.
He's Big Benji
with the
now.
Tanuki hat and the tail.
That's right. So he shoots Wistrom so that Brant can hit the power, and then Jane can plug in the thingies, and then Ethan can... do his funny thing where he says, "Mission accomplished."
Yes.
And then, of course, it doesn't work the first time. And you see Hendrix almost dead, but not entirely dead.
Which is hilarious. He's all in one eye.
Yeah, just looking over.
Is he going to actually do it?
Right. And then he finally does hit the abort button. It actually works. And, of course, just then Sidorov arrives and realizes what's going on. And we get that funny little... a moment where he's so messed up that he can't say anything.
Yeah, crows can't talk. Sidorov's like, so we are actually friends. Nod.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're working on the same thing the whole time.
Nod.
Would you like me to take you to the hospital? Nod.
Nice touch, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, finally... after all this, we cut to Seattle with appropriately sized titling telling us we're in Seattle. It's in a font that maybe some people may disagree.
In a questionable font by people who don't even know what questioning a font really means.
Right, exactly.
Seattle.
So it's at night, and it's by apparently Pier 47 because there's a huge actual physical sign in the scene that says Pier 47, wherever that is. So we overhear on the news the bullshit story that's used to cover up the fact that the missile hit this building and then lands in the sea, which we all know Jason has a huge problem with, which I understand.
Capital BULLSHIT exclamation point.
Yeah. So Ethan is having a beer with Luther.
Luther brought the meat. Yay!
He did. And I love how he's like,
you actually said that out loud. Mission accomplished.
I said it.
I'm still corny, Ethan.
It's a great way to open in on that
It totally is.
Just because it immediately creates that sense of familiarity between the two characters. Like, these guys have known each other forever. And if anybody's going to give him shit for saying something corny, it's going to be Luther.
Right. It's really perfect.
I also like the fact, I did pick this up, I did notice this, that Luther has lapped Ethan in his the number of Dos Equis that he knocked down.
Yeah, and then later he's like, it's like, I don't know how I got this. He's like, yeah, I know you do. And then walks off.
Yeah. So, yeah, Ethan introduces the team to Luther, and then Luther puts on a kind of a mean face because he's like, yeah, because you clowns, I was at the bottom of the bay cleaning up the mess, or whatever. Which is funny, too, that they alluded to the fact that he was, again, underwater because they've now created this history of Luther doing scuba work.
Right.
So, apparently he was picking up nuke parts. But anyway, at that point, Luther leaves after Ethan is paying the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And the gang, they have their little wrap up with Ethan, handing out phones to each of them. If you choose to accept this mission, yada, yada, yada. And then, of course, Brant stays behind, sort of. And then he kind of gets up and just sort of leaves the phone there. And then Ethan basically makes him sit back down or whatever, and they sort of chat, and we get the whole thing about Ethan's wife and just sort of the fact that all is sort of forgiven, and Brant finds out he's all relieved knowing that the whole thing was sort of staged.
Yeah, just to set up because we see Julia coming with somebody from the hospital,
right?
Just walking over there, and Tom Cruise is looking. Jerry Renner looks and sees and realizes what's going on, and then Ethan gives him the whole explanation of why everything had to happen.
And I wonder, like why they set this up. Was it a situation where they couldn't get Michelle Monaghan to be in the entire movie? Whether they just didn't want to focus on that aspect of Ethan, if they wanted to keep that going for the next movie? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of interesting that this is the route that they chose to go with all that.
Yeah, I think that
or maybe they just needed something. They needed to give Renner something to chew on.
I think that was part of it. I think maybe Michelle Monaghan maybe wasn't wanting to be in it.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you had tried to slow this, you would have had to put in a scene where he's like, well, I'm back at it again.
Right.
And she would have had to tolerate it. And all the other, even though she'd already gone through everything in 3, at least they didn't turn her into a spy like at the end of True Lies.
Yeah.
But I think that it was a good decision. She gets to go live her life. She gets to do what she wants.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it every so often she gets to ride the cruise train when he's in Seattle or whatnot, and then they go off again. But it works so much better than trying to shoehorn Ethan being in a relationship.
Right.
And I have to think maybe Cruise liked the idea of keeping Ethan grounded that way.
Of still being married and whatnot.
And
instead of just getting rid of her completely.
Right, because it is a key difference between Ethan Hunt
and James Bond. Yeah.
That he has somebody at home that he cares about, that he may not be able to be involved with because of what he does, but he's still loyal and true and honest to that person.
He's not
doesn't
like a
have to sleep through everybody.
He's not a murderous sociopath. So yeah, all is forgiven, and Brandt sort of sighs, relief, and it's a good scene.
It is a good scene. It was certainly more effective than his boo-hoo, I let her die scene.
Yes,
because it had it could breathe.
Yeah,
because there was nothing impending afterwards, and you're coming down off of the car crash jumble vending machine thing.
Right. And the fact that you had the comedic moment right before it with Luther to sort of loosen you up and prep you for what you're about to see.
In fact, we were talking earlier about where that scene would have been better placed.
Uh-huh.
It would have been better placed right here at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like you come up with Renner coming up with some I used to be security service detail, blah, blah, blah.
You could have waited the whole movie.
The whole thing. You could have easily explained it off that he was security. So yeah, he's his head analyst, but because he was the secretary, his head analyst also had to have some serious security skills because he went everywhere. This is perfect. Chris, if you're listening, take notes. And then at the end, he's like, Ethan, you handed me this phone, but there's something you need to know.
Right.
And then he goes through the whole thing there, and he's like, oh yeah? Take a look over there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like,
dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
We solved the problem, Ben. Why aren't we writing these movies?
I don't know.
They at least you give a script approval.
Instead, we've got a silly podcast
that picks on other people's movies.
That picks on other people's movies forensically.
Exactly.
So, anyway.
But not scholarly.
Not scholarly
Thank
at all.
Thank God, not scholarly.
Anyway, let me just get this.
We're almost there.
We're so close. So, and then we get this final little shared glimpse at each other between Ethan and Julia before Ethan, puts on his headphones and his hood.
And off he goes.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, the Syndicate. And then he disappears in the smoke. And roll the theme music.
I do like the fact that they did have them making eye contact with each other.
I did too.
It wasn't sort of an, oh, poor Ethan. They're like...
Well, and this is another thing that I heard, in an interview with Brad Bird, is that they specifically chose to make sure that they saw each other, not just have Tom see her from afar, because then there is that boo-hoo thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like a both, they just sort of acknowledge each other.
Right, and she's smiling. She's not giving him like a motherfucker look on her face.
Right, it's just sort of an acknowledgement.
I know you're there.
Yeah. And then
I love you too.
Right, and then you just go on, and it's happy. And I do also like the fact that they, even though McQuarrie didn't have to go into the whole thing with the Syndicate in Rogue Nation, they just chose to ran with it. I mean, granted, the Syndicate was the bad guy in the TV show.
Right.
So it was a perfect way to end it because, even if they didn't roll with that, that's who they normally go after
right.
anyway.
It would just by saying we're going after Thrush or
right.
Spectre or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and that, my friends, my tens of listeners, is the end of Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Part 2.
Honestly, final thoughts. I still love this movie. I will say going through it, I see a few more of the plot holes, a couple of the errors, like the things that make it a not perfect movie. And there are very few perfect movies out there anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
But I mean, I love this movie. I still maintain this is my favorite. Although, every once in a while, I kind of wonder if like Rogue or Fallout will eventually, steal that spot. I don't know.
Right. Well, and like I've said for me in the past, every one of these is my favorite because I like them all better since I can't remember any of them. Although, admittedly, 3 was not. I still liked 2 better than 3. Well, actually, like 3 better than 2, rather, the other way around.
Right.
But out of the 4 that I have watched and am currently able to remember, I do like this one the best. And I do remember specifically watching this one in the theater, remembering Jeremy Renner was in it, remembering that I liked him in it, that I liked the Ethan Hunt character because he felt more accessible as a character in this one compared to the first 3.
I do like it for some reason. It makes me think of that moment when they're in the Burj and Benji is explaining the gloves. Like for me, that is the quintessential moment why Ethan is so much more relatable in this movie. Is he's overwhelmed with all this crap that that is on his shoulders to try and do this like ridiculous thing. He has to climb on the biggest building in the world.
Right. And the previous 3 movies, he seemed a lot less put out by having to do that stuff.
Right. Now it's like, oh, he's reacting to this as a human.
Right.
Like he's still going to do it, but it's like,
he's thinking about those consequences when he does it.
Right, exactly. So it's more endearing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't, I think, an important change for the series because if you continue just being James Bond, eventually we're going to catch up to a superior James Bond.
Right.
Who was actually acting and putting some character development into things.
Right.
And Mission Impossible could very quickly have become the old James Bond movies, which have a place in the world.
Right.
But when Ethan Hunt is number 2 in Who's Your Favorite Movie Spy to James Bond, you want to be at an equal level at different places so that you're both filling a niche.
Right.
So if you go against each other on the same opening weekend, which will never happen again in the history of opening weekends.
Never.
But even if you're going together in the same month, right? Some people are going to choose Ethan and some people are going to choose James, right? There's a camp there rather than going, I'll just wait for Mission to come out on cable or DVD or streaming. I'm going to go see Jamie Boy, right? So,
right. I think this movie for me is one Ilsa Faust away from being perfect. Don't get me wrong, I do think that Paula Patton was great as Jane.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't have minded if they had brought her back for Rogue, but I do think that Ilsa is the perfect counterpoint to Ethan.
Yes.
In Rogue. But again, Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation are 2 entirely different animals.
Oh yeah.
Just so much, especially with Brad Bird at the helm on this one. This one is just pure popcorn. It is kind of a cartoon come to life. It is. But it's a really well-made cartoon.
Absolutely.
That is super fun and cleverly written, and Benji is just great in it. And so I mean, it's tops for me.
He's gushing, folks.
I'm gushing. I'll stop.
That's all right. It's good. It's good that you liked it and you got to do something you like. You never get to do movies you like on this podcast.
Never.
I'm the one who's always insisting we do things.
But what do you think of the movie, listeners?
Did you like it? Did you not like it?
Indeed. You should let us know because we are always looking for listener interaction to tell us how you like the movie, the podcast, or anything in between. So let us know. At our email, it's cicdeaddrop@gmail.com. On Instagram, it's Central Intelligence Cinema separated by underscores. Or on Twitter, @CIC SpyPod. Let us know. Jason, what did you, any final thoughts?
It's a good movie. We like it. Talk to us. Let us know if you liked it. Give us a review if you want to give us a review. We like it when you give a review, but we're not going to
That would be interesting if we got a review from a listener.
A review from a listener? Oh, no, not that kind of review. I mean, a 5-star review of the glowing variety.
Oh, those. Yes, we do like those too.
Yeah,
those
we don't want your reviews because that's our job. We don't need you muscling in our thing.
All right.
No. Glowing 5-star review.
Those are nice.
We're just going to leave it at that instead of beating you over the head with it. But, you feel like the need, go forth.
If you want to show us some love, we'd love it. I mean, it's going to let us show up quicker when people search for inane stuff like us.
Silly spy shit.
Silly spy shit.
Hashtag silly spy shit.
That's right. Can't forget the hashtag silly spy shit. But any final?
Nope.
All right.
Looking forward, continuing down that road.
Indeed, the road to reckoning continues.
Road to reckoning.
All right. Well, with that, I'm Ben.
And I'm Jason.
And the CIC will return with more missions, more martinis,
and more masks.
Yeah.